Hi, I'm Josh, and welcome back to my channel. It's been a couple days since I posted. I usually try to post every day. Like, I try to post like one long and one short every day. And like the last few days, I've just been struggling. And I'm not talking like struggling a little, I've been talking struggling a lot. Like, every time there's a weather change, I like start struggling more. Like, my arthritis like really hurts, and I have like bad arthritis, debilitating arthritis. Like every piece of me hurts. And the last couple days, it's just been like this. We had a major weather change, and like that's been hurting. And then I've just been struggling in more in other ways too. It just feels like spiritually, something's been eating at me, and I don't know what it is. And like, God just told me you need to rest. And like, I'm not going to come on here and say, "Oh, life's great every day." No, I'm going to here to share today. The struggle's real. Oh yeah, some days I struggle way more than others. Some days it's not bad. Some days it's just like minute to minute. The struggle gets real. I don't care who you are. Then, like anybody who acts like there's not a struggle in life, you're a robot. Man, that's about the best thing I can come up with. You know, the struggle is real. And like some days, the last couple of days, you know, I couldn't come up with anything. Like, God just told me to rest. It wasn't that I couldn't come up with, God told me, He said, you need to rest, because whenever I do these channel messages, it takes a lot out of me. Whenever I'm connected to and with God, it just pulls a lot out of me each day. Like after I do it, it drains me some days. And like today, I've just finally feel better. And God just wants me to tell you today, the struggle's real. You know, if you admit to yourself that you're struggling, and if you admit to other people that you're struggling, like others who don't understand that you're struggling, get those assholes out of your life. You know, there's some people that are just there to, well, what can you say, kind of make your life a struggle. And if those people are in your life, and knock them right out. But one thing is, you've got to figure out like how to minimize the struggle. And part of the way of minimizing the struggle is admitting the struggle. Admit the problem. Admit where you're struggling, what's causing your struggle today. And like the last few days, like part of it's been like my physical, part of it's been I've been wore out. I've been like physically tired. Then this frontal system came in. When the weather changes, I even have my overalls back on again today. Like, I have to basically be burning up before I'm basically able to like function some days. And like, I love the weather. It feels so great outside, but then today I can basically can't walk. So, you got to look at it and say, it's kind of like, wow, it's misery sometimes. It's like, when the weather's nice, I'm not miserable. Or when the weather's like, nice out, yeah, then another problem pops up. So, it's like, and then like whenever it's just insanely, stupidly hot out and I'm absolutely miserable, I have less physical pain. So, it's like, yeah, it is what it is, folks. You know, but admitting the struggle, and like spiritually, the last few days, it feels like I've been being spiritually attacked, and I know I have. God has reaffirmed this to me, like through our signs and whatnot. God has shown me, hey, yeah, you've been being spiritually attacked. And whenever you're having physical pain, spiritual pain, and then all those lead you into like mental anguish too. You know, when you're leading, whenever you're struggling in like 3 or 4 areas of your life, whenever you have a mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional, it basically you're struggling. Like if you're off balance in one area, like it throws all of them off balance. And like the last few days, I've been off balance bad. And like I've been trying to do for others because God wants me to, and I do for them. And sometimes that causes more of a struggle. But I just try to do ahead. I try to do what God asked me to do. And like the last few weeks have been like hectic. And God's told me, He said, you're going to take some time off and rest a little bit. And I'm like, I think you're right. And like if you have arthritis, you have basically chronic fatigue. Like something that takes some people like, that doesn't take a lot of energy. Like if you have arthritis, it takes like 10 times the energy and you're just like drained. Like I try to work out quite a bit to keep my weight off to where my joints don't hurt as bad. And it's like this, it's not one of those things that like keeping the weight off help. It helps some, but it's like just part of the, you know, and then anti-inflammatories and all of that. It's a struggle, and like if you don't have arthritis and don't, you trust me, you do not understand what you don't have. And it's something that until you have it, you don't really understand. It makes like standing up a struggle. Everything you do is like more of a struggle. And I'm trying not to like talk about my struggle, but hey, this is where it's led to. So don't be afraid to talk about it. And like if people minimize your struggle, fuck them. Get them out of your life. Really. It's like this. We got enough bullshit. And if people don't like you're talking about your struggle or minimize your struggle, understand that's a symptom of people. That's a symptom of the dark side infiltrating your circle. So, whenever you are struggling in life, admit the struggle. And once you admit the struggle, then you can start to deal with the struggle. It's like anything that you do in life that's a problem, it's just admitting the problem because you can't like start fixing something until you admit it. And it's like, I've been struggling spiritually, so how am I going to overcome that? I'm going to meditate more. I'm going to focus on my spiritual side more that I have neglected some lately. I am working on that. Like today, whenever I was out finishing mowing my yard, I was basically in meditation while I was out mowing. It's about making sure the content you're consuming is positive. You've got to look at it and see, it's like whenever you start changing your life, it's not like certain things. Like some people, like, they'll say, well, his mouth, I can't stand his mouth. Well, find another fucking channel. If you don't like it, then go find another one. I'm in a mood today. What can I say? I actually feel better since I started filming this. God gives people that others can relate to messages. Like the people who, well, don't like people like me, then that's fine. Go right ahead. But it's like, as I admit I'm struggling. And part of that struggle is admitting you're struggling. And it's like this, there's things that can like take away your thing, things that will temporarily relieve your symptoms or let you forget about your symptoms. You just don't need to do, because I'm telling you, after the temporary fix, then you got to deal with a problem that snowballs a lot of times. And it's like one thing, I like consuming canned carbohydrates, we'll say, or bourbon, and too sometimes I did. But guess what it does to arthritis? Oh yeah, it's like it cultures it, I swear. That's why I haven't drank in a quite some time, a few years now. And I've been trying to, and that's where admitting, it's like realizing my arthritis has problems. My arthritis has arthritis now. And I have to like minimize it. Now, one thing I still do consume like sugary drinks, which are, like anytime you consume anything basically besides crude proteins, it inflames arthritis. And I'll still I like my sweet tea. What can I say? I love sweet tea. And the thing is, though, it's not good for me. I'm probably gonna have to start getting to the point where I give it up and just go to like no, just water. And like the more water I keep and the more hydrated I get, that's when you minimize your struggles in life. Whenever you take control of it, part of taking control of something is talking about your struggles. And like whenever I do these videos, it helps me because I can, hey, because I do listen to my videos. I watch my own videos because it helps me to become a better me. And I'm just here to help me become a better me and help you become a better you. And that's what it's all about. But the first thing you got to do is admit that you're struggling to begin with. And if you're not struggling, you probably don't need this video. Good for you. But for those of you that are struggling, and the struggle is real, come along for the journey. Struggling is part of this world, but it doesn't have to be like constant chronic struggle. And it's like this: if you have chronic health problems, and there's lots of people that do, no matter what your chronic health problem is, it doesn't have to make your life chronically agonizing in every way. You take your problems, you deal with your problems, and you make adjustments in your life. Whenever I'm spiritually struggling, I talk to God more. I talk to God each day. I talk to God several times. I talk to God most of the day anymore. I'm looking around because some days, and whenever everything goes good, I talk to God. When everything's going bad, I talk to God. I don't blame God for when things are going bad. And I thank Him for those times to make me stronger. I've been through things that, honestly, I haven't even been able to process that I've been through in life. Yeah. And, whenever you're struggling, like, if people are minimizing your struggles, understand that's their way of diminishing who you are and what you are and saying that your problems are less than their problems, okay? Find people who love you and appreciate you and, like, don't minimize your problems. Understand but the main thing is understanding who you are and understand your problems and admitting your problems to yourself and saying, hey, I need to figure out how to deal with these problems. I need to figure out what my problems are. But the first thing you got to do is admit the struggle's real. You got to figure out, hey, I'm struggling here. Take the mask off. I've worn the mask and said, oh, I'm fine. I've sat there and wore the mask and said, oh, I'm fine. I was not fine. I'm one of those that can sit there and make it look like everything is just fine and I'm dying inside. I'm one of those that can sit there and I'm like very struggly inside. And the thing though is my life started getting better whenever I started admitting there were struggles. We can't relate to others if we can't relate to what they're going through. And like there's certain health problems that people have that I don't know because I've never had them. But the thing is I'm going to say I have my own problems and they're as much as I can handle. And no matter what chronic health problems you're going through, you're probably struggling too. I know you're struggling. That's just part of it. The struggle is real, folks. But God can help you minimize the struggle. God can help you through the struggle and help make sense out of why you're going through what you're going through. I sit there some days and try to realize, why am I going through what I'm going through? And God starts to show me why. And it's not for punishment. It's just to show us that, hey, we go through things for a reason. And, sometimes we don't see those reasons. But, sometimes we struggle, so we turn back to God. So that God will sit there and say, hey, I'm here. I was here the whole time. Like, whenever things are going good, we tend not to turn to God. We tend to say, oh, well, I don't need you. Everything's good. I turn to God whenever things are good, bad, or just sideways. And lately, my life has just been like sideways. I don't know. Everything's just been like off balance, and I'm not sure why. And it's like, I think that, like, and yeah, spiritual attacks are real. For anybody that doesn't believe that, believe they are real. Yeah. The dark side attacks you. Yes, that's their job. And Whenever I say the dark side, I'm meaning the evil, whatever you want to call the evil entity. I just kind of like to, I really haven't came up with a good term for it, and God hasn't shown me what to actually call it yet. And, I just kind of, you know, there's light, and then there's the darkness. And that's just kind of, one of those things that you look at. And I've tried to, like, go through life and realize, hey, I just want to be part of the light. I want to be part of the solution. I want to help others when they're struggling. But, each day when I get out of bed, some days it takes everything I've got. And like my life, I have to I've had to learn to adjust my life to fit me, to be able to, there's certain things that I have to, certain times a year I work strange hours because, well, I can't take the heat, but I have things I have to get done, so I have to be out at night. And then there's certain times a year that I can't take the night and cold, so I have to be out during the day. It's just kind of, I have to adjust my rhythm year round, and God helps me adjust it. And like spring and fall is kind of when I'm in that in between of the rhythm adjustments, and it's a struggle too. And it's like, right now though, this year I've been like doing some different things. I've been doing a lot more gardening and stuff, and my plants have helped me. My plants help me to like mellow out a little bit, and just kind of chill out and relax. But talk to God about your struggles, meditate a little bit, and like figure out where your struggles, what's happening, what's causing your struggles. And once you figure out what the struggles are, then you can start solving the problems. And understand that, we have mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional. Okay? There's 4 parts to us. And everybody wants you to focus on either just the physical or just the mental. Emotional needs are important too. Spiritual needs are important. Talking to God, connecting with the universe. That's why it's all important to work together. And whenever you're struggling, turn to God and turn within. Don't seek help from outside unless you need it. Seek help from God and turn within and start solving that, and see if that doesn't start solving some of your problems. Seek within first and seek from God. Whenever you turn within, you're actually turning to God. Just go within. Admit the struggle to God and say, God, I need to know what I'm struggling with. If you need to, start there. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. And go ahead and take that step and just admit that you're struggling today. I've admitted I'm struggling, and I think I'm feeling a little better now that I've admitted I'm struggling. And if people don't like, well, you're weak, I guess you're just a stronger person than I am. Good for you. But anyway, I'm Josh. I love you. God loves you. Peace.